Hello, welcome back again. For those who don't know me, I am Zephyr. I am the founder of MADCAPT Limited, which is basically Amazon service-based agency that helps brands to scale without their driving portfolio. But today we have one more special guest, and she is from inventory and cash flow, Amazon inventory and cash flow industry. So before wasting any time, let's invite our special guest, Chelsea Cohen. Hey, Chelsea, how are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
So Chelsea, let's start with your background story, how you can come in Amazon industry, and before that, what you are doing and what's the challenges is you have for this time span and how you can tackle them. We would love to know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I started selling in Amazon 2014. Before that, a couple of different things, but I had about 4 years working as an account exec at a financial management company. So I had experience working with managing finances and accounting and that sort of thing, which really, at the time it was a job, but had no idea at the time that I would end up doing a lot of that within my career. So I took a lot of the things that I learned doing that role and then applied them to, first my Amazon business, but then also recognizing that there was a problem in the industry with inventory and profitability. I ended up building SoStocked, my inventory management software, and we're extending into profitability and then cash flow right now.
Perfect. So you come from a financial management side to Amazon industry. So I think you have a really deep understanding how to manage cash flow. And also you mentioned we are going to talk about ASIN-Level Profitability. This is the exciting topic I would love to know about from you. And so let's start with the most common question. What do you think? What the biggest misconception Amazon seller have about their cash flow account, according to your opinion?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges that has been around since I first started in e-commerce in 2014, so 11 years ago, has been tracking the top line revenue more closely than tracking the bottom line. And it's hard to, if you don't really have a handle on inventory and that sort of a business, it can be very difficult to keep track of your deposits versus what you owe to your suppliers versus what you're going to need in terms of the cash for things like Prime Day and Black Friday and that sort of thing. There's all this kind of nebulous ideas floating around and not really getting a clear picture of your long-term cash flow.
Okay. So what the biggest plan you have seen if any brand have a cash flow leakage? So what the important or biggest sign whenever brand are going to calculate their cash flow? So what the important thing they need to look at there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that can be a problem is that your cash flow can be tied up in your inventory. So you've got products that maybe aren't moving as quickly. You made some bad buys and purchased too much inventory. And all of that is costing you in terms of accumulating storage fees. And it's just your cash locked up. So your company value might be high, but your cash is locked up. So your money isn't working hard. It's not making you money. And it's actually costing you money to have that inventory sit there.
Perfect, perfect, great. So let's tell about us and what the ideal workflow you can use to elevate SN level profitability rather than you can go overall account cash flow or revenue. So what the concept you have about that?
For ASIN level profit?
Yeah, SN level profitability.
Yeah, so a lot of the time you've got products that were first originally assessed for profitability when they were sourced, and you generally the pricing It does not generally change very significantly with your supplier, but now we've got these tariffs that have come into play that everyone is conscious of that. Shipping costs fluctuate. In 2020, shipping costs got to be insanely expensive, and those costs fluctuate. So something that maybe was more profitable before, when shipping costs change, that can affect profitability. And then obviously advertising, but the thing that is most overlooked in all of these things is that those storage fees that accumulate the longer that they sit there. If you've got inventory that's been sitting there for 9 months, it is quite possibly not profitable because you've paid storage fees 9 times, and then you started paying aged inventory fees starting month 6. So you've got products that maybe you're not paying attention to them, but you should be aggressively trying to sell through them so you're not incurring those storage fees. And also, like we talked about, that is simply cash that's tied up in inventory.
Perfect. So as you mentioned, we need to tackle our storage fees firstly to understand the profitability. So would you recommend what the workflow we can use for regarding our 3PL storage, regarding our Amazon storage? So what the workflow you can recommend us, and what the workflow you can use at your source stock, and how we can get a benefit from that?
Yeah. So in terms of tracking storage, we currently, with SoStock, what SoStock does, and then I can talk about some reports inside of Seller Central as well. Amazon supplies the data on how old inventory is, right? You can have 1,000 units sitting at Amazon, and maybe half of it is aged 9 months, and then the other half is aged, let's say, 4 months. So Amazon gives that data. They give it through the API. We actually take that data and we can see what you've spent so far. We actually do something we call accumulated storage fees, and we can track what you've spent so far for all the inventory that you have sitting in Amazon. And then looking out 12 months, if you can forecast your sales, you can technically forecast your storage fees. So that's one of the things that we do, is forecasting for storage fees, because if I have inventory that's 4 months old and I know that I'm not going to sell through it for another 6 months, I can predict that I'm going to be starting to be charged aged inventory fees in a couple of months. And then at 9 months, it goes, you start getting charged $5.45 per cubic foot. So that's more than double what you pay on Q4. And we're very aware that in Q4, the storage fees go crazy. So you're looking at a lot of, I like to call it, you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. And most sellers don't know that they're sitting on this time bomb. And so they're only aware of it when it blows up in their face. So that's one of the things that we do in SoStock. And it's also something that if someone is not using SoStock, we recommend getting your hands on a report inside of Seller Central, which is the FBA inventory report. It's under fulfillment. It's under the reports under fulfillment reports. And then if you look at the inventory reports on the left margin, you scroll down, you have to click more. And then at the very bottom, so it's kind of hidden. A lot of people don't really look at it, but it's called the FBA inventory report. And it has like 2.5 alphabets worth of columns. And toward the end, it gives you all of the products that have inventory age, all of the inventory age. So you can look at, these products are 270 days old. These are the products that I should be selling through aggressively because I'm being charged huge amounts of fees. So in terms of workflow, downloading that report and identifying those products that are costing you a lot in storage fees or about to cost you a lot of money.
Perfect. Great explanation. So why either we can use that report for Excel format, So either we can go or use some software out of in the market that helps us to understand. So what do you recommend? You recommend a source stock, or you recommend Excel sheet for preparing everything?
Yeah. It's interesting because one of the things that we say is with SoStock, it was always how to get more than just 30 days worth of recommendations, of order recommendations. And I built SoStock. I started building in 2018. We launched in 2019. And it was because I couldn't find a software that would give me more than 30 days worth of orders. And there were a lot of pieces missing. I couldn't put my marketing in there. I couldn't, put my my third-party warehouse. And so we built a tool that gives you a year's worth of forecast. We're one of the only tools that does it, and you can't forecast for fees if you only forecast for the next 30 days, because that's only going to give you what you're going to be charged in the next 30 days, which is exactly what Amazon gives you. That report that you download will give you, here's what you're going to be charged in the next 30 days. So we project it out for 12 months, and it's something that other softwares don't do. And it's one of the reasons that I'm very passionate about profit planning, about fee avoidance. And so we took Amazon's fee policies and we built it into our software, and that's how we're able to do what we do there.
Perfect. So now we can discuss about how most of the thing, how we can plan inventory, how we can plan cash flow. So let's give us some secret insight about the Carbon 6, how they use inventory planning for making a profitable decision.
Looks like it got.
Can you give us some secret insight about the Carbon 6?
About how to use SoStock Carbon 6 software to make profitable decisions in terms of inventory?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I always like to say the most expensive mistakes you'll make in your business are inventory mistakes. And so it all starts with that. Generally, when a person's coming in, they're in the middle of their business. And so they have a couple of different things going on. They have their ordering, they need to know what to order, but they also, the piece that's neglected often is having a plan for selling through that inventory that's costing money. Being able to take kind of a two-sided approach, looking at, here's the products. We actually do a free profit audit. We'll look at, here's the products that have stocked out over the last year, and stockouts cost a lot of money. Obviously, revenue is a problem. You also can get into circumstances where you're having to do express shipping, which costs more, and then re-ranking products and that sort of thing. So that's one side of things that we like to look at. We'll audit for, here's the products that you stocked out on, here's how much it cost you, how much you lost because of it. And then looking at the products from the perspective of, you're keeping too little inventory. We want to keep 30 to 35 days worth of stock at Amazon at all times. So if you've got products where you're keeping too little inventory, that's a good sign that those products are going to have problems with stockouts. So setting minimums, we call it min-max restocking. You set a minimum and then you set a maximum, and you say, I want to stay between this range and this range, not too much stock, right? We say, 90 days is the maximum that you should go, depending on your supply chain. Some people go 75 days. 90 days is the most we recommend. So setting the minimum and maximum is where we start. We generally go, okay, you've got stock out problems here. Let's set your minimum and your maximum. And then we'll look at products that are over that maximum. You either have too much of it and you should sell through it, or you have too much of it and you're being charged those aged inventory fees, right? We've looked at profit audits where someone was being charged $14,000 every single month and not even realizing where their profit was going. And that's where cash flow becomes a problem. You say, I should be profitable. When I look at what my margins should be, I should be profitable, but where's my money? Amazon's charging, thousands of dollars in fees, and it's hard to tell where that's coming from unless you get more granular and you can see what the products are that are being charged over stock aged inventory fees.
Great. So you tell really deep insight. You tell about most of the things that people are going wrong. But do you think either the inventory management is the biggest headache, or is the advertising management is the biggest headache for the seller? What do you think? What's your opinion about it? Because I am from advertising side and you from our inventory management side. So what do you think? Uh, what the biggest wastage expense? What the biggest headache for seller for both of them?
So between inventory management and what? I missed that other part.
Advertising management. These two things is the most important. Is the most important thing for the Amazon brand owner. So they always they always care about that. So what do you think? What is the most hectic thing for your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves advertising. Everyone loves marketing. People hate inventory, and that's one of the reasons that you have inventory problems is because you don't, if you don't like to do something, you tend to put it off. And if you don't have a good system, it can really break everything. You obviously can't market or advertise when the product is not there. I think that advertising, I mean, they both kind of go together where if you're not in sync, if you don't have one talking to the other, that can be where you get into problems. You stock out because the marketing went really well and you don't have enough stock for the demand that was predicted. So you run out of stock, or the product, launch didn't go as well as you thought it was going to go. So you kind of back off of that. You've got other bestsellers to worry about. You've got this product that's sitting here. So those things both can cause problems, and the teams aren't generally coordinated very well. So I used to use a term. We created a term early on called inventory-minded marketing. And the whole idea was marketing gives their marketing plan to inventory. So inventory can make sure that the inventory is there. But inventory also, that team has to take a proactive approach and give data to the marketing team. Slow down the sales. This new ad strategy is working too well. You need to back off of it. It's not just about making as many sales as possible. It's about making sales as profitably as possible. So, if you're marketing and you're spending all these ad dollars, but you end up marketing into a stock out, you could have avoided that stock out, backed off on some of that ad spend, and actually been more profitable and not stocked out and not had to re-rank. So it's really important for those two teams to be coordinated and to have a system and a process to exchange information, to make decisions that are not just revenue focused, but profit focused.
Perfect. Yeah, we also consider it because every time in any advertising management agency or manager, they always see what the inventory we have and what the strategy we wanted to make according to the inventory we have. So I think firstly, the seller need to focus on their inventory side, supply chain side, because if we don't have a product, what we sell, marketing is basically the sell the product. If we don't have any product, or if we can go out of the stock, so what we sell, we lose our ranking, and also a lot of different aspects we can damage our business. So yeah, that's why I already did this supply chain episode before one guest who is the founder of Pilbel, and she's also share a really interesting insight about that. And he's recommend me instead of you are using the Excel format, you can use some automated tool to bring automation in your workflow if you're managing a multi-million-dollar. So you have some similar experience about that. So can you tell me what the part of cash flow or inventory forecasting we wanted to automate it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, in terms of automation, so we see a lot of people using Excel spreadsheets. And a lot of why these are used is because inventory is very, very complex. And a lot of the automation systems out there are missing pieces. And, inventory is math. You leave out one number and the whole answer is wrong. So because most of these systems and especially systems where it's, I like to call it inventory, and anything that's not specialized in inventory is very likely missing those pieces and going to get you into trouble. So you have to make sure that that the automation has, if you have external warehouses, if you have lead times, how long does it take to get from your supplier to Amazon, and then marketing as well, marketing and seasonality. All of those pieces, if they're not there, the automation is going to get you into trouble. And you really need to understand whoever's handling the inventory really needs to understand how the tool works and really needs to understand the different moving parts, because you leave one piece out and you end up over ordering, you end up under ordering, you end up stocking out. So that's kind of the piece of the, be careful what tool you use. And then the other piece is with an Excel spreadsheet, you can, it's not real time. That's, I think, one of the problems is when you're doing these marketing campaigns, things happen really quickly. So you should be rerunning your inventory at least once a week, depending on how fast things go and depending how long it takes to replenish. But you should be running those inventory reports in short spans of time. So pulling that information, and then Excel spreadsheets are prone to human error. So they're not pulling information daily, and then there's human error that can occur as well. So those are kind of some of the risks of using a spreadsheet. And then, like I said, the risk of using software automation is that those pieces are missing. And then ultimately the risk of any inventory management is that you can get human error because someone doesn't know how to use whatever system they're using.
Great. So would you recommend any audit checklist for inventory management? Does seller need to check for a monthly or weekly basis? Do you have any checklist about that?
We do. I want to see if I can pull it up. We have, so one of the checklists is basically just going through and seeing what you have in stock, obviously, and then you want to see what you have. You need to know what you have en route. You need to know what you have in production. You need to know what you have in your warehouse, obviously. And then obviously inventory checks in and that sort of thing. Any FBA transfers we would always go through. Is there any shipments that have come in to FBA? Are there any inventory orders that need to be placed? Any transfers from your warehouse? And so those are kind of the first keys. And then looking at, are there reports that should be going to your marketing team? So some of the reports are like a slow seller report, right? This stock is slow to sell, so you should have some sort of slow seller campaign. Here's a list of potential stockouts, right? Low stock, send that to your marketing team as well. So slow sellers, overstocked inventory, and the potential stockouts are all reports that should go to marketing. And then marketing should be sending data to the inventory team as well. They've got, a Prime Day deal and they expect to sell another 2,000 units on top of what they normally do. That should have been communication that came before the Prime Day orders, right? So before orders are placed, I think that a piece of it is you should have a system where marketing is already sending this data, but inventory, before they place an order, can go to marketing and say, hey, we're about to place an order. Is there anything that you haven't told me that you have planned.
Perfect. I think it is okay, or it is workable, what you have mentioned here. So basically the data, the sales data, I think it is important for managing your supply chain inventory forecasting. If you have a good sales data, so I think you manage your inventory, or you predict what unit we wanted to sell next month or next season. So I think we can cover almost here. Do you have any recommendation for the seller who wanted to forecast, who wanted to manage their cash flow in a good way? So would you like to recommend something here, or after that we can warm up this session?
Yeah. I mean, staying educated, looking into the different methods of tracking contribution margins is something to start to understand. Cash conversion cycle is something to look into. And then, to recommend, we've got a free profit audit, and we talk about these things all the time. So we've got a white paper that talks about fees. So if you went to carbon6.io, you would be able to find in our resources all of our white papers, find the one that talks all about fees, but not just fees. I talk about the different aspects: cash flow conversion, profitability. All of those pieces are in that white paper. And then if you're interested in getting a profit audit, carbon6.io/so stocked, you'll see a little button for the free profit audit, and you can sign up for that, and then take a look at the inventory, the stock outs, as well as the overstock fee liabilities. And then lastly, there's opportunities to get FBA fulfillment fees reduced. So that's another thing that we like to explore.
Perfect. So I think we almost covered everything. So thank you so much, everyone who watching this episode, who's joining us live. And we can see you again for the next guest. And we're looking forward to talk to you again, Chelsea. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.